Thank you very much. So I now invite Professor Gábor Dávid from Stony Brook University, who's the editor of the book, to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I wanted to start with how the book started itself, but I changed my mind, and I think let's start at the very end. So first of all, big thanks to Zoltán Szabó for finding this manuscript, right? And big thanks to Eva Kilényi, who put up with all our delays and problems and, you know, excuses why things are not ready in time. So, another interesting aspect, and actually it really occurred to me only 10 minutes ago, that this story started almost to the date exactly 4.5 years ago. So what happened is I was sitting peacefully in my office in Brookhaven National Lab. We had an experiment running 24/7 for 5 months. When I got an email May 22nd, so 22nd would be the 4.5th anniversary, I got an email on May 22nd from my former boss, who became a very good friend. His name is Sam Aronson. And he said, oh, a project for your spare time, and with 2 question marks. Of course, he was ironic. He knew approximately how many spare times I had. And this was the year when UNESCO made the recently found manuscript part of the world memory, so part of the world intellectual heritage. And when I looked at it, I immediately fell for it, right? This, by the way, is the second time in my life. First time, it was in the early 80s when I fell for Bach's autograph, Johann Sebastian Bach's autographs, and it was also a 2-year-long work, and I loved every moment of it. The same was true with this book, too. So, the reason, so again, if I just looked at this handwriting, and you should know it's a confession, but you should know about me that I almost perversely, almost as much love the process of birth than the end product itself, you know. So to look into someone's mind and see how he worked and how he labored himself through until a crystallized end result comes, right? This is just a fantastic experience. Being a physicist and experimentalist myself, I'm laboring on through enough things. And it's a joy. It's almost as much of a joy to see the working process as, again, to see the end result. So, in this sense, I would have done this gladly, this transcription, even for its historic value alone, right? Now, very amazingly, the real reason why Ephraim Fischbach and Sam Aronson asked me to transcribe this, first to decipher this manuscript, then make a German transcript of it, and then mix it with the English translation of the 1922 EPF paper, which was mentioned before, okay, was not historic, it was scientific, right? They were working on the Swiss force problem, which is still not gone completely away. And they wanted to see if there is something in this autograph which was left out or described differently in the final paper, and maybe if such discrepancies might help them to clarify or give them some clue in their research to the fifth force. Now, when I started to compare the autographs after deciphering it, when I started to compare it with the published paper, and you should know that the paper was published way after Eötvös' death, right? He died 1919, and the paper was published by his disciples in 1922, okay? And to my biggest surprise, there were substantial differences, right? Now, if something appears in the published paper but not in the autograph, that's easy. Okay, the autograph was lost. The corresponding pages were not found. But there were also reverse occasions when something was very well described in the autograph, right, and it was simply left off the paper. For me, the most shocking thing is that Eötvös spent pages and pages and pages in describing very precisely the measuring device, its niceties, its tiny details, right? And this was simply left out of the 1922 paper, right? This would be shocking by today's standards of publishing something. If you are publishing a groundbreaking experiment, right, which, by the way, may be unknown at that moment, but served as one of the foundations of Einstein's theory of general relativity, right? Heavens, you describe what you are measuring with, and why do you believe that this is so? Now, the other is, again, to, as I mentioned already, to see this, the care, the, I cannot use any other word, as the humility with which Eötvös approached his subject, you know, and try to mitigate all possible problems, from trivial temperature variations to even thinking about it. Oh yes, but if outside the building there is a huge rain, then the mass distribution will change. So how will this, and to what level will this influence? And after he has done all this, right, he wrote down that, oh yes, we are perfectly aware, I'm quoting freely, but this was the essence. We are perfectly aware that these measurements are not the best one could make, not even the best one could make with our apparatus, but ars longa vita brevis, we have to be content of making a step forward. And then I don't know how to react to this, right? As an active experimental physicist, you know, the step forward is a factor of 300 improvement over the previous best measurement, right? And then he says, oh, we made a step forward. And the shocking and really, you know, it shakes you experience was that Eötvös meant it. Right? He knew that even if in the greatest triumph of your life, and you're changing physics inadvertently, right? You are humble, and you look even at your greatest achievement with the proper humility, right? I'm telling this and telling to you so forcefully because unfortunately this attitude is not always present and not in all research that we are currently doing. The other shocking thing is, and which gives you a lesson to today, is that, of course, this is something which is absolute fundamental research, right? Nothing could be any more basic. And yet the tool that you have to develop to it in order to do your experiment, right, in 0 time finds its way into commercial and big-time commercial use, right? And I don't want to get any deeper into it for known reasons, but I want to emphasize that these type of things repeat today also, right? So if you support fundamental research, right, you also support economy. And one more thing which you may or may not like, but when I had to summarize to myself how I felt about this entire thing, living with it for on and off, of course, but in some sense for 4.5 years, right? That this was, again, with this factor of 300 improvement, with the fantastic precision, with the fantastic way how he really tried to think about everything. He even included into his samples, radioactive samples, which were barely known for 10 years, right? But yes, I have to prove for the radioactive samples also the equivalence, right? So if you think about it all and put it together, right, you would say that it is the LIGO experiment of the 20th century. And I would go even further, I would turn things around. Let's be fair, right? The LIGO experiment is the Eötvös experiment of the 21st century. And then we have done justice to Roland Eötvös, right? So again, a fantastic book, fantastic undertaking, and an absolutely marvelous man. It was a miracle to me to be able to essentially peek over his shoulder, you know, and try to figure out what he meant by this and what he meant by that, and seeing this entire process. So I'm very, very happy that it materialized in this book after 4.5 years, and I think that this is a proper tribute to I hope nobody will get upset when I say this, the greatest Hungarian experimental physicist, Baron Roland Eötvös. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation of this book. It's really exciting when we see many documents in one book. And Eötvös has deserved to really have such a book which could, as I understand it, it's published in 2 languages at least, and the English version will be really available for international scientists. It is great to have such a book. And before we will close this session, I would like to tell just a few words because we have no time, we are very close to the end. Once Eötvös were asked, how difficult was it to develop and to use your equipment, which is called the torsion balance apparatus? He immediately answered, it was simple. Could you imagine today as a scientist, if it's some correspondent approach from the newspaper asking, could you tell about your science, how it's complicated? Oh, you know, it's so much complicated, we need equipment, we need money, and so on. Well, that was an excellent answer of the brilliant scientist. But he added, addition was even exciting. Like a flute of Hamlet, you only have to know how to play on it. And just like the musician who can delight you with splendid variations, the physicist can, on this balance, with no less delight, determine the finest variation of gravity. It is music, it is a poem, it is everything inside of this one sentence. Let's make our science so enjoyable and so useful as Roland or Laurent Eötvös dreamed. And I would like with this finish our session. If it's the case you have no any addition, we first of all would like to thank all our speakers, our presenters, as well as those who participated in this exciting session. First session, one of the first sessions of the World Science Forum, which was established 20 years ago here in Budapest, in this building, together with UNESCO. And today we have exciting events under the patronage of UNESCO and the International Science Council. At that time it was the International Council for Scientific Unions, together with a few other organizations. Thanks the Academy for this possibility to organize these sections, and thanks definitely László. You were a driving force of all this wonderful year, which started early this year in January, and thank you for your efforts. I would like to invite you for some maybe technical notice about the books and so on you mentioned specifically. Yeah, thank you.
I have something with me, a commemorative coin, Eötvös Loránd commemorative coin for you and for the IUGG, since Katrin Waller is in second time in Hungary, and she has received this commemorative coin in the spring, but now to the IUGG. Technical announcement that, as we promised, you can get free copies of this book. The editor, Eva Kilényi, is coming here, and we have Erzsébet Petró, also from the Hungarian Geophysical Association, and you are kindly asked to choose between Hungarian or the English version, and you are kindly asked to sign if you have received a copy. Thank you very much for your attention coming here. Thank you.